Welcome everyone to Success Connect. My name is Mark Kenny. I'm the Global Head of Customer First for SuccessFactors. I'm here today with Stefan Poulin from the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation. Welcome, Stefan. Thanks for joining us. How are you today?
Really good, thank you. And you?
I'm doing great, thanks. Excited to have this conversation with you today. You know, Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation is a very purpose-driven organization. I think you've got a great story to tell. It's a story about preparation and resiliency. But before we jump into the details, I'd like to hear from you in terms of the organization, the purpose, and your role there. So I think the audience would love to hear that.
Yeah, so let's start with the organization. So CMHC is the National Housing Agency in Canada. And our mandate is to make housing affordable for everyone in Canada. And we do this in many ways. For example, we're providing mortgage insurance to keep loan costs affordable. We're delivering programs and services to help Canadians in need of affordable housing. We're also providing important research data and insight on housing in Canada for different stakeholders within the country. Another example is we're delivering the Canadian National Housing Strategy, which is it's a big initiative in Canada to help people to find a place to call home. All these examples are there to help us to meet our aspirations so that by 2030, everyone in Canada will have a home that they can afford and will meet their needs. So personally, I am in the HR division, and I'm in charge of the operation of HR within the organization.
Great, thank you. Yeah, I love the aspiration, the 2030 aspiration, and that makes yours again a very purpose-driven organization. It has to be really inspiring to your people and really make you an employee of choice in the Canada market. So let's take a step back. We're halfway through 2020. We're all living through the COVID pandemic. We understand how that affects us, but take me back before COVID, back to 2019, early 2020. Tell me about your workforce strategies that you were trying to employ in that time frame.
Yes, so maybe what I can do, I can start quickly with a brief history of what we did and when all of this started. So we can probably go back till 2014 when we had our new CEO, our current CEO, in fact, who started beginning of 2014. His name is Evan Siddle. And when he arrived, he really brought a different management style, encouraging a lot of transparency, pushing ourselves to be more innovative, trusting each other, be more accountable in our work. So those concepts was an important element that he was trying to bring to the organization when he started. I would say maybe a year after he joined, one of the major initiatives that we did that really started a transformation of the organization was significant investment in our technology and our system. For example, we went to cloud. We made sure that all our systems talk to each other, which was not the case before. We equip our employees to be able to work remotely. We adopted SuccessFactors as our new HR system. So those important investments really start to change the way that the organization operated. Then, with the spirit of trying to find new idea, which was one of the key elements that our CEO was trying to push, we held what we called a Dragon's Den at the time, which was a forum to employees to present new ideas and new concepts related to work. Anything. So we were asking employee, find idea, find project, propose them, and we'll select one at the end. And really, it's at that time that the future of work, what we were used to call the future of work strategy, emerged from this winning idea. So I'll explain a little bit what was this idea. It was presented by some CMHC employee who had read a book which is called Why Work Sucks and How to Fix It. The books promote a concept that is called Result-Only Work Environment, or ROE. You can easily find the information on the web if you want more detail about it. But the concept of ROE is today promoted by an organization that is called Culture RX. The philosophy of work is all related to results, as the name can say. And it promotes the fact that employees are 100% accountable and have 100% autonomy in the realization of their work. So when we include the technology piece and we add this ROE concept, which is the people aspect, we also work on the third element, which is related to physical workspace. So we put all of that together, and that really became our future of work strategy and what makes CMHC today. affecting the organization in a way that was really deep at the end. So by the beginning of 2019, all our 1,900 employees received the appropriate training and tools around that ROW methodology. And it took really about 6 months before having everyone been working in that environment of work and feeling that they were working differently. It's important to mention that ROW, it's not a work from home program. It's not a flexible arrangement program. It really focused on the results. So all the benefit that we got from it via the autonomy, for example, it's kind of collateral effect of the environment of work. So with the ROW, just before the COVID, employees were able to work wherever they want and when it made the most sense in order to achieve the desired result of their job. So, the concept that we often heard, where work is not a place where you go, it's something that you do. This is clearly true for CMHC. And I think something that every employee would tell you the same thing. One important element in a ROW environment is the performance management, which is critical, obviously, since the focus is really on results. So performance management is a really important aspect. So that was also reviewed during the implementation of ROW, and we're using tools and system. In our case, it's with SuccessFactors. We're using the module on performance management in order to provide feedback, set goal, and capture achievement of employees. So at the end, if I can summarize all of this, the workforce strategy that we put in place with the ROW, with the workplace transformation, as well as the technology transformation, had really big positive impact: increased engagement, high performance oriented organization, reduction of employee stress, positive financial impact for the organization, higher collaboration. The environmental sustainability have also been a positive element since there's much less commuting than we were used in the past. And it's one of their major attraction and retention tool for the corporation today.
Yeah, thank you for that. I love the strategy. That really says a lot about your culture, right? You talked about the Dragon's Den and bringing ideas forward. You talked about the results-oriented workforce enablement. That says a lot about creating a culture of empowerment. And I think it really probably helps CMHC create a brand of choice as it relates to being an employer in the market. So thanks for sharing that. So fast forward to March 2020, COVID-19 pandemic hits. How did this strategy work for you? How did it prepare you to execute and maintain business continuity through the pandemic?
Yeah, it's an interesting question, because I would say we were very fortunate that COVID-19 did not disrupt our ability to do our work and carry our responsibility as an organization. As you could imagine, as an agency for a house in Canada, there is an important role during a situation like the one we have experienced to help the economy of Canadian and the need of housing Canadians during those difficult times. So our transformation to a result-only work environment was completed before COVID, as I mentioned earlier. And if we take that in consideration with the technology transformation that we did a few years ago, our employees were really equipped with the necessary technology and tool to work remotely during the COVID times. So as opposed to many organizations, we didn't have to go in the step where we had to scramble to make sure that employees are properly equipped, are able to work remotely, and trying to help manager and employee on dealing virtually instead of in person, as some organizations are used to or are stuck in that environment of work. We were lucky to be able to move forward directly to the business during the COVID need and to focus on Canadian needs, I would say. So because all employees were able to work from home, and to some extent they were used to a more virtual environment, as I mentioned, there was no really interruption of the delivery of our service and program. In fact, we even was requested by the federal government to help them in introducing some additional service and programs during the pandemic situation. So, and I just want to be clear too, I don't want to diminish the fact that some of our employees face the reality of COVID and the difficulty of COVID by having kids at home, for example, and working at home in an environment where it's not that easy. The fact also that people has obviously had to have less social interaction. In some cases, it was mostly nil. So that reality was faced also by CMHC, like other organizations. But if we think from a business perspective and delivery of our results, generally we were not materially affected of COVID because of the way we were set up to work.
Yeah, thank you for that. There's a saying I think that says that chance favors the prepared mind, and you and the CMHC team were certainly prepared for that kind of an outcome. Look forward now. We're still returning to work. We're still adjusting to the new environment. What have you learned from the COVID-19 experience? What have you learned from your row infrastructure? Where do you take this going forward? What will you do differently? What will you accelerate? What will you stop doing in the months and years to come?
I think the COVID-19 has reminded us of how important it is for everyone to have a home, which is clearly part of our main mandate. So a place of safety and stability during uncertain times. So it put more light on the mandate and the aspiration of CMHC. We implemented our Future of Work program because we wanted to be more agile, really. We wanted to move away from more traditional work environment. We wanted to show our employee that we trust them with greater autonomy and control over their work. So before COVID-19 hit, we already knew that this was a good move. And I can see that it validated when we saw that productivity, employee engagement, and morale increased despite the COVID situation. So going forward, it's really a question, I think, to promote this even further within the organization, and I would say even with other organizations across the country. There is a social benefits from this way of doing and the way of working that goes outside CMHC. So this is one thing that we're proud of, and we want to talk about with other organizations as well in the future.
Yeah, thank you for that. And I'm sure there's going to be many organizations that would love to speak to you directly and better understand how you approached the workforce, empowering the workforce. It really helped you be resilient through the whole pandemic and beyond. So thanks for sharing that story. So as we wrap up, I'm just curious, any other lessons learned, any message you'd want to leave our audience with before we close for the day?
Yeah, I mean, so maybe if I'll do it in two ways. So from a corporate perspective, obviously, as I just mentioned, our goal at CMHC is that by the end of 2030, everyone in Canada has a home that they can afford and that meets their needs. So this is really the focus of the organization and what we're trying really hard to do in order to help everyone in Canada. On more the subject of discussion today, I would say that being innovative and adopting our future of work strategy has helped us to remain efficient during difficult times. So adapting technology and our way of thinking has enabled us to become resilient, as you mentioned earlier today, and to carry on our work in a time of crisis. So it's really important, I think, to change the mentality of work within an organization. You should engage your employee. It's really important in those decisions, in particular if you are looking to move forward with innovative idea. You also need to trust them and give them the tools they need to get their work done. So in our case, at the end, all of this really paid off our organization, and I truly believe that it can be the case for your organization as well. As I said earlier, when it comes to work, it should definitely be something we do rather than a place where we go. We don't want to manage people, we want to manage work. People are autonomous and can be accountable for the work that they do. So when we really think about it, I do believe personally that traditional work environment doesn't make sense anymore for employees and even employers across the globe. So there's some action that needs to be taken, and I'm pretty sure that's something that the organization can and should look at.
Yeah, fantastic. No doubt that the entire world is going to look at work differently. And it's not just location, right? It's how do we empower our people? How do we set clear objectives? And in some ways, it's taking a step back to some of the basic tenets of talent management. What a great story, Stefan. Thank you so much for joining us today. Really appreciate that you took the time out of your day to share the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation story.
It was a pleasure. Thank you very much for the invitation.
Anytime. I know there'll be a large group of organizations out there that really want to understand how CMHC approached not just the COVID pandemic, but all the preparation you did to empower your workforce leading into that. Obviously, you did not know it was coming, which made you much more resilient in the end. And again, creating a great brand, a great employer brand, a great employee engagement brand for your people. So wonderful story. Thanks for sharing. To our broader audience, thank you for joining today. Don't forget to tune in to Success Connect to access more on-demand content. Thank you for joining.